Psychosis is a mental condition in which thoughts and emotions are so affected that contact is lost with external reality. That's the official definition of what Google gives you when you look up psychosis, but I want to give you a deeper insight on what the spiritual causation of it is. My name is Ira Morphy. I'm a psychic and metaphysics enthusiast, and before I get into the video, I must say I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a doctor, and this is not medical advice. Today I will share my truth on what is psychosis, what causes it, and how to get rid of it. So what is psychosis? I like to call psychosis a quantum phenomenon, and in order for you to understand why, let me explain to you what the quantum field is and how it works. So the quantum field is basically the infinite field of possibilities. It is where everything, everywhere, everywhen is happening all at once, all these infinite amount of realities. So in the Young Double Slit experiment, which I've covered quite a lot of times in my channel, I'm gonna give you a brief explanation of how it went. It's basically these two double slits in which they shot particles, which is what makes up our reality. And when they were not being observed, right, when there was not an infrared camera to check the particles would behave like light, which is how photons behave overall in waves, right? They would behave in waves. But when the particle was being observed, it would solidify into matter. So it would behave like how matter behaves. So what that experiment basically proved, or because honestly, nobody understood the experiment, even scientists are trying to explain it to this till today, is that the observer has a humongous role in how reality plays out. Depending on who is observing it as well, the particle would behave differently. And remember, particles are the basis of our reality. So if the observer, which is you, can affect the observed, then that means that you affect this entire reality and how it solidifies into existence. Anyways, what actually determines how this reality shows up to the observer? It would be the electromagnetic field. So our electromagnetic field is actually what decides the reality in which we live. Reason I say that, aside from all of the ancient texts from thousands of years that talk about how our heart is pulsating this electromagnetic field in the form of a torus that dictates the reality in which we live. But I also want to explain it in a scientific mode. So there was this man called Vladimir Poponin, Russian. It was an experiment where he isolated inside a vacuum, which is where, they take out lights, they take out atoms, everything. It's just like a vacuum. There's nothing in there. And he isolated photons, which is the quantum stuff that creates our reality, right? And the photons were all disorganized, and when he put human DNA into the photons became very organized and they were able to form this pattern. But when the human DNA was taken out, the photons didn't go back into their disorganized form. They stayed in that very organized pattern, right? So what this experiment was called was phantom DNA, and the interesting thing about it is that it proved that the human DNA does influence how photons behave. And the interesting thing about human DNA is that it has been proved by the Institute HeartMath that it is heavily influenced by our vibration, which is our feelings, right? They were able to bring on HeartMath, so this is another experiment. They were able to bring on people with very coherent emotions who have been training how to feel coherent emotions, and they were able to test, right, this torus. They were able to see how their vibration literally changes their DNA. So low vibration would contract their DNA and higher vibrations would expand their DNA. If that dictates how our DNA behaves and our DNA dictates how photons, which is what creates, it's literally what makes up reality, behaves, then we create reality with our feelings, which are thoughts and emotions combined. Okay, so this is where it gets interesting, because it is our perception of reality which actually ends up dictating how this reality works. When someone perceives something a certain way, it is going to end up attracting more of that thing. So for example, if you are late to work and you're super stressed out, you're gonna most likely end up attracting more traffic, right? More people cutting you off, etc. But if you are late to work, same scenario, and you're feeling really good, you're like, okay, whatever, everything happens for a reason, you're most likely gonna be end up getting all green lights. You're gonna be able to get to work much faster. And the interesting thing is that you created all of that, right? Because you simply were able to perceive the situation with a higher vibration, which communicated to your DNA, right, how to behave, and then your DNA communicated to the overall field how to behave. Where the other scenario, you were communicating a very contracted reality, a very low vibrational reality, and that's what ended up creating itself. So you see how you create reality with your perception. It is the meaning of perception that solidifies reality. And until then, you are in an infinite field of possibilities, and that is the quantum field. Now let's get back to psychosis. When you have psychosis, you open yourself up to the truth that we are in this infinite field of realities. We are consistently moving through them. We're never in one set reality, right? We're always moving through these things. We are multidimensional beings. But you have not fully grasped the fact that we are multidimensional beings, okay? So yes, you're open up to the quantum field, right? To the infinite field of possibilities, but you don't really understand that you choose what reality you go to. And this opens doors to wielding great power with zero control. But let's get more into what actually causes psychosis. There is a reason why you lose touch of reality and you lose also control over that great power I just talked about. And it's actually because you had a Kundalini awakening without being grounded. Let me explain. So let's bring out the chakra system. Whether you know what they are or not, I'm gonna explain. The chakra system is the energy points in your body. They are basically part of your energy body, right? We have our physical body, we have our energetic body, and then we have a bunch of different other bodies. But this was part of your energy one. And there's certain points in your body that dictate how the energy flows in and out from your body, right? So if energy is blocked in a certain chakra, then you're not gonna have much energy flow on there, and it's gonna affect your overall life, internal and external. As you can see, you have the root chakra, which is the chakra that connects you to this physical realm. It is the chakra that has to do everything with stability, with being safe, right? If you have it unbalanced, it's because you're filled with fear. You don't feel safe. You don't feel like you're surviving, right? You need to be always being survival mode, etc. Then you have the sacral chakra, which is more of your sexual energy, your creative force, right? This is also opens doors to psychic abilities. It has to do with your emotions. You have the solar plexus, which is your will, your action. It is your ability to have the confidence to do things, right? You have the heart, which is, your connection to the world and to yourself as well. The heart is a very powerful, it is also the portal to the upper chakras. You have the throat, which is your inner truth, right? Your ability to communicate and to speak authentically, but also to be pure and truthful in your existence. The third eye, which is the most popular one, you see with your third eye, you're able to perceive the spiritual realm and overall have imagination, intuition, and then your crown, which is what connects you to the everything, right? To source, and that's how you download knowledge. Anyways, let's talk more about the root, your third eye, and your crown chakra. Now, usually prior to a spiritual awakening, most people are functioning from the lower chakras, which is the imbalanced root chakra, imbalanced sacral chakra, and imbalanced solar plexus. And this would be mainly functioning out of fear, right? The reason why these chakras, especially the root, is so imbalanced is because of trauma that we endured when we were children, right? Different things that makes us feel unsafe, insecure, right? All these things. So when we have a spiritual awakening, we open up the upper chakras and we start to be more coherent, more conscious, etc. But some people have Kundalini awakenings, which are really hardcore awakenings that open up psychic abilities, and they could be really beautiful and awesome. But in some cases, it can open up very abruptly, which we'll get into right now. I'm gonna cover really quick and get to the point on how Kundalini awakenings work, but it is when the Shakti energy, which is, Shakti, the feminine energy, awakens within you, right? You have your Shiva energy, which is your masculine energy, where most people are functioning from, and then you have your Shakti energy, which is your feminine. It is your intuition, your connection to the spiritual, it is your emotion sensitivity, etc. That awakens in a person, and together with the Shiva energy rises up to the crown and connects you to the divine, okay? Now it awakens in your lower chakras and rises up through your chakra system into the crown. This of course causes a great awakening because you have awakened all of your chakra system and connected to the divine. But what happens is that when this chakra below, right, the root chakra, is very unbalanced, is very filled with fear, and it has a lot of blockages, what happens is that this Kundalini energy, right, this feminine energy, which is the energy of the internal world, going and diving into the internal journey, right, into the hermit journey, I would say, like the darkness, the things that people don't really want to, the unknown, right? When this energy awakens in you, but you still have a lot of stuff in here, traumas, imbalances, blockages, right? All this energy, it rises up with it. Okay, so it kind of like breaks through all of your chakras and awakens you anyways. But this stuff doesn't really go away. It stays there. And that's when you find yourself with Kundalini syndrome. So since you had that Kundalini awakening with that fuzz inside of you, and it still awoke your upper chakras, that ends up messing with your perception, because you end up having your traumas almost like leaked out into the surface, but you don't know that. And you especially don't know that if you have no idea that you're having a Kundalini awakening or that you're having a spiritual awakening at all. Remember that your third eye is I see, okay? I see. And your crown is also what you receive from the cosmos, okay? But this can be very distorted if the fuzz from here has been leaked out into the surface. What this ends up happening, especially because it's I see, remember that is your perception, what ends up happening is that your perception gets distorted. And remember I told you that your perception creates reality. Well, that is where psychosis comes from. When that happens, your sense of perception is completely altered, okay? And this causes you to manifest your traumas and your wounds, etc., manifested symbolically into your reality. This is why when you are dealing with psychosis, if you really dive deep into the root of your delusions, right? If you really analyze your delusions from a symbolical standpoint, because our subconscious mind loves to communicate in symbols, what happens is that you end up realizing that your delusion is just a symbolical representation of your traumas. So when I had psychosis, and yes, I've had psychosis, it was really hardcore for me. My delusion was that I was a clone. So when I had my Kundalini awakening, and I remember the moment I had it, I literally felt like a snake was moving up through my chakras in like this helix form and awakening me. But then that energy would rise down again and I would be delirious. And then it would wake me up again and then rise down. And it was like this constant state of like, okay, I am lucid. But then when it would rise down again, I would be completely delirious, okay? I would be terrified. I was so scared. And my delusion was me being a clone. So I would see the outside world and I would believe that it was completely fake and it was not connected to spirituality. It was not connected to God. Okay, I would believe that I had another version of myself in another reality that was actually real, and I was just a clone of that real Ira, right? Like the real Ira was very loved by everybody. The real Ira was, living this really nice life, and she was connected to God. God loved her, right? Like, and when I say God, I mean like the oneness. She was connected to the oneness. She was connected to the divine. And I was just a computer generated clone or something like that of her. And so I was not connected to God, and I was gonna live the same life on repeat for the rest of eternity. Yes, I know this sounds terrifying. That was my psychosis. As you can see, it wasn't really that easy to get out of, and it did cause me so much suffering, but I got out of it. The reason why I noticed this was a quantum phenomenon is that while I was actually having my first psychotic hardcore episode, right, I noticed that I was seeing so many different realities at the same time, and I just didn't know which one was real. I would see a reality where I was inside a battery of a car and everything. It was some really, really random stuff. I would see another reality where, I was talking to the stars. I would see another reality. Everything was just completely mixed together into this thing. And I ended up choosing a reality out of fear. Now, the reason why I had that psychosis of me being a clone is, when I was little, I'm gonna get a little personal, but when I was little, I was very shunned away by society. I was the weird kid, the kid that talked about weird things. And my mom and my dad, they were always like, oh, why are you this problematic? In school, I would always be the one that got timed out. And I was a child, by the way. This was 4 or 5 years old. I was always like that kind of kid that people just didn't like. So since I was a little girl, I was always shunned away by society. And what happened is that I ended up creating this alter ego. And that alter ego was the bad Ira. I was like, okay, since I'm so bad, then, I'm bad then. And so because I was so shunned away by society, I started to believe genuinely that I was a bad human, that I was just not good and that I was bad. So I started owning up to that. I was like, okay, I'm bad. Everybody wants me to be bad, whatever. And that created an alter ego. Okay, so I dealt with, up until my teenage years, I dealt with me thinking that I was bad, and then I had like this other side that was good. I was just dealing with like basically two personalities inside of me. And as you can see, it was clearly because of trauma. And other things had played into that split happening in my brain, which was very subconscious, by the way, because I wasn't like having blackouts or anything, like having different personalities. It wasn't like that, but I genuinely felt like I had two people in me, and I had a very bad split. So eventually when I had psychosis, that is exactly what manifested physically, okay? So I felt like I was a clone. I felt like I wasn't real, and that there was a real era out there that was actually worthy of love, that everybody loved, right? Do you see how that is the symbology for what had happened to me, right? Because there was a part of me that was genuinely worthy of love, who was good, and that was who I really was. But then I split, and that created that part and that created the psychosis. Anyways, when I had psychosis, and I remember I started observing the thoughts that were like, oh, everybody's looking at me. Perhaps they're like plotting on me. Is this fake, right? Those psychotic thoughts. And instead of me like digging through and connecting the dots and then going down the delusion, what I started doing was just drawing back my energy. And I would realize how everybody stopped looking at me. Right? Because the more that I focus on that thought of, oh, people are looking at me, maybe I'm a clone, whatever, everybody literally, I'm telling you, would start staring at me. Like my reality would morph to match the vibration of those thoughts. I swear. And that's when I finally realized, I'm like, wow, I create reality. And this is not a joke. I have been creating reality this whole time. And that's when I got into my quantum journey, learning all about, shifting realities and everything. But that's how powerful your mind is when you're in psychosis. You are a powerful manifester. You manifest reality like this, I swear. But you need to be so careful with where you are putting your energy, okay? Because I promise you, your psychosis is not real. It's almost like this archetype to a deeper issue that you have. So how to get out of psychosis? Like I said, become aware, okay? Become aware. That is the most important thing you need to do while you're having psychosis. You need to become the observant of your entire reality, okay? Your internal one. Who you truly are is the observer of everything. And through observing, you can choose where you put your energy. So if you don't know how to sit back and become the observer of your thoughts, become the observer of your emotions, of how you feel, of the sensations in your body, of the things that you get in your mind's eye, of your overall reality. If you don't know how to do that, the best way that you can possibly start to master that ability to become aware and to observe is to meditate, okay? To meditate. Put yourself every single day in at least 5-minute meditation where you're literally just exercising your ability to observe. You put a timer on, whatever, 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and for the entirety of those 20 minutes, you just sit and close your eyes and focus on your breath, focus on your body, focus on your presence, right? Like feeling your toes, feeling your limbs, etc. I'm doing it right now. Feeling your hands, and whenever you feel a thought passing by, you just observe it. And if you if you catch the thought and you don't notice and you go down this like thought rabbit hole, you simply notice and draw back your awareness. The more that you do that, the more that you back into the present moment, the more that you exercise your awareness. Start doing that. Start meditating. Second thing would be to draw back your energy from those thoughts, okay? Buddha said, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts and made up of our thoughts. The reason why Buddha said that is because our thoughts are really like the first thing that comes on when we start to create reality, right? And if we listen to thoughts, if we have a thought and then we give our attention to it and then we have an emotional reaction to that thought, the thought plus the emotional reaction creates feelings. And like I explained in the first half of this video, feelings are how the quantum field, how you communicate to the quantum field, right? Feelings is what will dictate how your electromagnetic field is doing and how the quantum field will respond back to you as well. So when you have this delirium thoughts of, oh my God, that person's fake, or oh my God, this celebrity like really wants me, or whatever, those thoughts are of course based off delusion, right? But when you have them, you don't want to put your attention on them. You want to become very aware of your thoughts, right? Realize that when you get thoughts like that, you don't want to give it an emotional reaction. And if you do, you quickly want to draw back your energy and focus on something else. So for example, if you got a thought, oh, somebody's fake, you put your energy on that thought and you will start to go get more thoughts like that, right? Then you start to go down this like connecting the dots kind of thing. I remember when I had psychosis, I definitely would get one thought and then I would go and start to figure it out, right? Like to connect the dots. I would get more and more and more thoughts feeding into this delusion, and that would evoke more and more and more emotions in me until I was completely pumping out a nightmare reality from my electromagnetic field. So becoming aware of your thoughts and realizing they are like the beginning of it really is going to help you so much, because the more that you can get those thoughts and then draw back your energy and put them in better thoughts, like, oh, I am the creator of my reality. What do I choose now, right? Like, what do you want to create? Draw back your energy and put it towards what you want to create. Third thing, come back into your body and ground yourself. Like I explained to you, that awareness exercise that I just spoke about, that one is also going to help you come back into your body. Because in order to do so, right, the awareness exercise, yes, you can breathe only, but what I really like to do is feel my toes, feel my feet, like really put my focus on my body, like the heaviness of my body, be present in my body, because this connects you with the physical realm, okay? When your energy is all over here, right? Remember, we want to bring your energy back down from these upper chakras because you are still imbalanced, and that's that, right? You want to bring your energy from these upper chakras and from your third eye down to your body. You want to be here, because that is going to help you rekindle your connection with the physical realm. Remember that your root chakra is imbalanced because you have a bad relationship with the physical realm. You could have a bad relationship with the physical realm because of trauma, which is gonna be a part of like what you need to work on, and I'm gonna speak about that in a little bit. But you also need to rekindle it by just being here, right? Like, don't escape, be here and feel your body and be at peace in the physical, in the present moment. When you learn how to do that, you start to ground yourself and you start to balance your root chakra again. You can also do this in nature, which is even better, because you get to connect with Mother Earth. And nature, if you are bare feet or you're just in nature overall, the electrons from the earth end up neutralizing your energy, and it ends up relieving stress, inflammation, and overall helping you heal your energetic body as well, and grounding you more, of course. So definitely, I'd recommend you to be more present in your body, practice more mindfulness, right? Like just being here, and also be more in nature. I have this video called Stop Spiritual Insanity, which is more on how to ground yourself specifically. So definitely go check out that video. Number 4, work on emotional healing. We already know this one's so important, because once again, the root of your imbalance is rooted in trauma. You need to work on what got you there in the first place, what made you not like the physical realm. I have a lot of videos on emotional healing, which you can definitely check out, but that is one of the primal steps that really helped me rekindle my relationship with the physical and help my inner child understand that they are safe and that they no longer, they're no longer hated, and really implement that part of me that needed to be implemented, right? Like that double self that I had, helping myself almost like reintegrate that part of me by understanding it and working on it is really what helped me truly get rid of my psychosis. Okay, number 5 or 4, stop enhancing the meaning of synchronicities and connecting the dots overall. You need to stop doing that, okay? Synchronicities are a very real thing, but they're not for you to decipher and for you to go looking for them. They're just for you to experience and then synchronize your life to them, okay? Synchronicities are called synchronicities for a reason. They're calling you to synchronize your life to it. For example, let's say that you're thinking of starting to sew, right? This happened to me the other day. Starting to sew and make your own clothes, and then you have somebody who follows you that does that. And then you guys start talking, right? That's a synchronicity. That's perhaps telling you, okay, start sewing, start learning from their content, or just start sewing, period. Like, I didn't even think about it like, oh my God, what should I sew? Like, am I meant to be like the next fashion star? Whatever. That's not what I did. I just synchronized let it happen. And if I'm meant to be the next fashion star, who cares, right? If that's what's meant to be, eventually there will come a synchronicity that tells me that. But right now I'm not worried about it. I'm not looking for it. I'm definitely just chilling in the moment. And that's that. I am not connecting the dots, because if I connect the dots, that is what opens the doors to misinterpretation. And definitely, if you're dealing with a distorted sense of perception, you are going to end up distorting the perception and meaning of synchronicities anyways. So this is why I'm saying, do not try and explain them. Do not try and find like a meaning to them and then go down a rabbit hole to try and look for other signs or whatever, because your perception is distorted. It won't always be distorted, but we definitely don't even understand synchronicity. So what I always recommend is just align to them, and that's that. Let them go. Anyway, psychosis is a super hard thing to go through. I know how hard it is, so don't be mean to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself either. You are a warrior, and you are going to get out of it if you're dealing with it right now, or if you have a loved one who is dealing with it, or overall you just want to know what psychosis is. I want you to know that everything will be fine, and it's absolutely not a chronic thing, okay? So definitely have some faith. And if you're dealing with this, the only thing that can really get you out of it is your belief that you can, and your commitment to getting out of it and to changing how you create reality. Really, the only thing. It's your commitment, your will. If you found this video helpful, make sure to like it and save it for later. There's different resources below as well that you can check out if you also want to work with me and check out more of my content. And if you are looking to become the best version of yourself through the metaphysical, don't forget to subscribe. I'm Ira Morphine. I'll see you on the next video.